I decided to connect everything that we've been learning about Monet so far with all of the other painters that we've been studying. He's the founder of Impressionist painting, as we saw yesterday. We saw Impressionist sunrise in the flesh. At 11 years old, he began studying under Jacques-François Orchard, who we don't know, maybe, but he was actually a student of David, who we've been studying for the past couple of weeks. Eugene Boudin became his mentor at 16 years of age. That was also the year his mother died. They both came under the influence of Johann Joachim. He's a painter that not many of us are familiar with. He's Dutch, but I saw some of his paintings in Reims, and you can definitely see how they influenced Monet. He left to join the army, but he was only in it for 2 years, so it didn't really matter. He became a student of Charles Blair in Paris with Renoir, Bazille, and Sisley in 1862. And then the following year he began his en plein air phase at Fontainebleau. Camille Dancieux is an important woman in his life. She was his first wife, and she's the woman who appears in Woman in the Green Dress, which was actually attributed to Manet because they misinterpreted his signature, which was not cool. So never misinterpret Manet for Monet. She died 9 years after they were married, but actually at their wedding, which happened right before the Franco-Prussian War, Courbet was the witness at their wedding. So they're all very connected. The Franco-Prussian War that I just mentioned in 1870 forced Monet and his friends to go to England, where they studied Constable and Turner, the Turner son, which we keep seeing in his paintings, and which 2 years later would influence his 1872 sunrise, the Impressionist sunrise. In 1873 he met Cabot, which we saw his painting also at the Marmottan. I have trouble pronouncing that. After his wife died, Alice would help him raise his sons, which would happen here. In 1877 he painted the Saint Lazare train station, which we were actually at. So it's kind of a funny story. He convinced the person in charge of the station, that he was a very important painter. So he had this steam go off just for Monet to paint it. In 1883, he discovered Giverny, which was only 5 short years after the Giverny website says Monet tried to commit suicide. Something that I didn't know, but times were rough. Times would turn around at Giverny 5 years later. Apparently his whole fate changed because of this place. He became really famous, and all of his paintings started to sell. In 1889 he had an exhibition with Rodin. We just saw the Rodin Museum. It's all connecting. He purchased Giverny in 1890, and he would die after visiting a lot of other European countries. So we'll see many different influences from Madrid and Venice in his later works. What you're going to be seeing inside the house is completely Monet's taste. He chose all of the colors, every single room. He designed specifically for the people who are going to be staying in it. The barn, which we might see next door, was one of his studios. Above the studio was an apartment that was entirely his, and the left side of the house was entirely Monet's. Everything harmonizes with the Japanese woodblock prints, which we see influence a lot of the Impressionist artists and the artists that would follow the Impressionist period. So you'll see a lot of Japanese woodblock prints, but unfortunately we won't see any original paintings by Monet. They were all removed, and they're at the Marmottan and the L'Orangerie. But we will see replicas, so we'll have kind of a feeling for what it looked like when Monet was here. The dining room is going to be a really cool room because it's going to have Japanese engravings, including some by Hokusai and a lot of other famous Japanese engravers. In comparing it with the Moreau Museum, it's going to be more so where he lived. We're going to see a little bit of where he worked, but where he worked is this beautiful garden that we're surrounded by because he was an en plein air painter. So we're going to actually see where he lived. It's going to be very exciting. So. Yay.